Chupacabra. Let's kick things off with a creature that's been terrorizing farmers across Latin America and the southern United States for decades, the chupacabra. Now, the name literally translates to goat sucker, and yeah, that's exactly what it does. This thing sneaks onto farms in the dead of night and drains the blood from livestock, goats, chickens, sheep, you name it. But here's what makes it creepy. It doesn't just kill them. It leaves them completely drained, with puncture wounds on their necks, no blood anywhere, like something used them as a juice box. And while the chupacabra isn't really known for attacking humans, if you corner one, if you catch it in the act and it feels threatened, that's when things get dangerous. Because this creature is fast, vicious, and has zero problem defending itself with those sharp claws and teeth. The chupacabra legend started in Puerto Rico in the 1990s, and it spread like wildfire across Latin America and into the southern United States. The descriptions vary depending on who you ask, but most people describe it as this reptilian creature, about 3 to 4 feet tall, with leathery gray or greenish skin, large red or black eyes, and a row of spines running down its back. Some versions say it hops like a kangaroo. Others say it walks on all fours, but can stand upright when it needs to. And those eyes, people always mention the eyes. They glow in the dark, reflecting light like an animal's, and when it stares at you, it's like it's calculating, deciding whether you're a threat or just another obstacle. But that really freaked people out when the chupacabra first appeared, were the kills. Farmers would wake up in the morning and find their animals dead, completely drained of blood, with small, precise puncture wounds on their necks or chests. No blood on the ground, no signs of struggle, just dead animals that looked like they'd been vacuum sealed. And that's not how normal predators work. Coyotes, wild dogs, they tear things apart. They leave a mess. But the chupacabra, it's surgical, it's clean. And that precision is what made people think this wasn't just some wild animal, it was something else, something intelligent. Now, the chupacabra isn't really interested in humans. Most sightings involve it fleeing the moment it's spotted, disappearing into the brush or jumping over fences with this insane agility. But there have been reports of people getting too close, trying to protect their animals or capture the creature. And that's when it turns aggressive. It hisses, bares its teeth, and if you don't back off, it will lunge. There are stories of farmers being scratched or bitten while trying to chase it away. And those wounds, they get infected fast. Some people say the chupacabra's saliva or claws carry some kind of toxin or bacteria because the wounds don't heal right and people get really sick afterward. What makes the chupacabra fascinating is how widespread the legend became. After the initial reports in Puerto Rico, sightings started popping up in Mexico, Texas, Florida, even as far as Russia and the Philippines. Each region had its own version, but the core stayed the same. Mysterious livestock deaths, drained of blood, with the strange creature seen lurking nearby. Skeptics say it's just mangy coyotes or wild dogs with disease, and honestly, some of the photos do look like sick animals. But the true believers will tell you those are just misidentifications, that the real chupacabra is still out there, still feeding, and we just haven't caught it yet. And here's the thing about the chupacabra. It's lethal, sure, but it's not really a threat to humans unless you provoke it. It's a livestock killer, a creature that's learned to exploit livestock because they're easy targets. It's not breaking into homes, it's not hunting people on purpose, but that doesn't mean you should underestimate it. If you're a farmer in an area where the chupacabra has been reported, you lock up your animals at night. You don't go investigating strange noises alone. Because while it might prefer goat blood, if it feels cornered, if it thinks you're between it and its escape route, it will absolutely attack. And those claws, those teeth, they're designed to puncture and drain. You do not want to be on the receiving end of that. What makes the chupacabra work as a legend is that it taps into rural fears, the fear of losing your livelihood, of something unknown stalking your property, of being helpless to protect what's yours. It's not the most dangerous creature on this list, not by a long shot, but it's persistent, it's real to the people who've seen their animals killed, and it's a reminder that there are still things out there we can't fully explain. The chupacabra might be small, but it's effective, and that's enough to earn it a spot on this list.
The Dover Demon. All right, next up, we're talking about one of the weirdest, most unsettling cryptids in American history, the Dover Demon. Now, this thing isn't going to rip you apart or chase you through the woods. It's not a predator in the traditional sense. But what makes it so creepy is what it does. It just stares at you. That's it. It appears out of nowhere, perched on a wall or standing on the side of the road, and it watches you with these massive glowing orange eyes. No expression, no movement, just pure, silent observation. And that's somehow more disturbing than if it actually attacked, because you have no idea what it wants, what it's thinking, or what it's going to do next. The Dover demon is low on this list because it's not actively dangerous. But trust me, if you saw this thing in real life, you'd be traumatized for years. The Dover demon appeared in Dover, Massachusetts over the course of 2 days in April 1977, and it's one of the most well-documented cryptid sightings in modern history. 3 separate groups of teenagers saw it, and their descriptions matched almost perfectly. They described a small humanoid creature about 3 to 4 feet tall with a massive watermelon-shaped head that was way too big for its thin, spindly body. Its skin was rough and peach-colored or gray with no visible hair, nose, or mouth, just those eyes. Huge, glowing orange eyes that took up most of its face, and long, thin fingers that wrapped around whatever it was holding onto, like it was gripping a wall or a tree branch. The witnesses said it moved in this jerky, unnatural way, like it wasn't quite sure how to use its limbs, but it was incredibly agile, able to climb and balance on things that should have been impossible for something with that body type. And here's what makes the Dover demon so unsettling. It didn't do anything. It didn't attack, didn't make noise, didn't run away immediately. It just stood there or crouched there, watching. One witness, a 17-year-old named Bill Bartlett, was driving with friends when he saw it on a stone wall. He said it turned its head slowly to look at him, and those eyes just locked onto him. No blinking, no emotion. Just this cold alien stare. He drove away as fast as he could, and later that night, another group saw it near a different location. Same description, same behavior. Just watching. The next day, more sightings. Same thing. And then it disappeared. Never seen again. Now, the Dover demon has been the subject of tons of speculation. Some people think it was an alien, maybe a gray that got separated from its ship. Others say it was some kind of interdimensional being, something that briefly crossed over into our reality and then went back. Skeptics say it was a hoax, that the teenagers made it up or misidentified a moose calf or some other animal. But here's the thing. The witnesses stuck to their story for decades. They passed polygraph tests. They drew sketches that matched each other. And they all said the same thing. They've never seen anything like it before or since. And they'll never forget those eyes. What makes the Dover demon stand out is that it's passive. It's an observer, not a hunter. There's no evidence it's ever hurt anyone or even tried to. But that doesn't make it less disturbing. In fact, the passivity might make it worse, because when something just watches you, when it doesn't react or respond to your presence, it feels alien. It feels wrong, like it's studying you, cataloging you, analyzing you for reasons you can't understand. And that taps into a deep primal fear, the fear of being watched by something that's smarter than you, something that sees you as a curiosity rather than a threat. The Dover demon represents the unknown in its purest form. It's not a monster you can fight or run from. It's a mystery, an anomaly, a thing that shouldn't exist but does. And even though it's not dangerous in the traditional sense, the psychological impact of encountering it is real. Imagine seeing that thing perched on your fence, those massive eyes glowing in the dark, just staring at you with no expression, no emotion, no humanity. You'd never feel safe in the dark again. And that's why the Dover demon deserves its place on this list, because sometimes the scariest things are the ones that don't do anything at all.
Jersey Devil. All right, next we're talking about one of America's most famous cryptids, the Jersey Devil. Now, I know what you're thinking. Didn't we just cover this as the top creature in the mythology list? Yeah, but here's the difference. That was about the legend, the curse, the historical terror.
This ranking is about actual threat level. And the truth is, the Jersey Devil is fast, it's aggressive, and it's been seen attacking animals and scaring the hell out of people. But when you look at consistent sightings and actual confirmed kills, it's inconsistent. Lots of reports, lots of panic, but not a ton of evidence that it's actively hunting humans. It seems more interested in terrorizing than actually killing. So yeah, it's dangerous, it's real to the people who've seen it, but compared to what's coming higher on this list, the Jersey Devil is more bark than bite. Still terrifying though. The Jersey Devil, as we covered before, is this demonic creature that's been haunting the Pine Barrens of New Jersey since the 1700s. Horse-like head, bat wings, cloven hooves, forked tail, and that horrible scream that sounds like a human dying. It's been seen by thousands of people over the centuries, with the most famous wave of sightings happening in 1909 during the Devil's Week, when entire towns shut down because people were too scared to leave their homes. But here's the thing, while there are tons of sightings, tracks, and reports of the Jersey Devil attacking livestock and pets, there are very few, if any, confirmed cases of it actually killing a human. It seems to prefer chickens, dogs, cats, farm animals, easy targets that can't fight back. And when it does encounter humans, the behavior is erratic. Sometimes it attacks, hissing and lunging, forcing people to flee. Other times it just flies overhead, screaming, and disappears into the night. There are reports of it landing on rooftops, scratching at windows, even chasing people through the woods, but most of those encounters end with the person escaping and the Jersey Devil vanishing. It's almost like it's testing people, seeing how they react, but not fully committing to an attack. And that's why it ranks where it does, because the threat level, while real, is inconsistent. You might encounter it and nothing happens, or you might encounter it and have the most terrifying night of your life. It's a gamble. But don't get me wrong, the Jersey Devil is still dangerous. It's incredibly fast, with those massive wings allowing it to swoop down from above without warning. It's got claws and teeth that can tear apart livestock, and if it wanted to kill a human, it probably could. The problem is, we don't know what it wants. Is it protecting its territory? Is it just messing with people? Is it intelligent enough to avoid killing humans because it knows that would bring more hunters? Nobody knows. And that unpredictability is part of what makes it scary. What really keeps the Jersey Devil in the public consciousness is the sheer volume of sightings. This isn't a creature that was seen once in the 1800s and never again. People report seeing it regularly in the 1900s, the 2000s, even in the last decade. Hikers in the Pine Barrens, drivers on back roads, people living near the forest, they all describe the same thing. Something large and dark flying overhead, that awful scream, those glowing eyes. And the Pine Barrens is a massive, mostly undeveloped wilderness, so it's entirely possible something could be living there, hiding, surviving without being fully documented. What makes the Jersey Devil rank where it does is the combination of factors. It's been around for centuries, it's aggressive when provoked, it's fast and hard to catch, but it doesn't seem to prioritize human kills. It's more of a terror weapon than an apex predator. It scares you, makes you question what's real, makes you avoid certain areas at night. But does it actively hunt and kill humans on a regular basis? The evidence just isn't there. So yeah, it's dangerous. Yeah, I wouldn't want to run into it alone in the Pine Barrens at 3 a.m., but compared to what's coming higher on this list, the Jersey Devil is a mid-tier threat. Still terrifying, still legendary, but not the ultimate killer it's sometimes made out to be.
Fresno nightcrawlers. Alright, next up we're talking about one of the strangest and most bizarre cryptids ever caught on camera, the Fresno nightcrawlers. And let me tell you, this thing is weird, like really weird. It's not scary in the traditional sense, it's not chasing people, it's not attacking, it's not even making noise, it's just walking. And that's what makes it so unsettling. Imagine looking at security footage and seeing these short, white, leg-like creatures just casually strolling across your yard in the middle of the night. No arms, no visible head, just legs with a small body on top, moving in this smooth, almost gliding motion. It's eerie, it's unnatural, and it raises so many questions. But here's why the Fresno nightcrawler ranks where it does. It's not dangerous at all. It doesn't interact with people, doesn't harm anything, doesn't even seem to notice humans. It's just there. an eerie presence, and nothing more. The Fresno Nightcrawler first appeared on security camera footage in Fresno, California in 2007. A homeowner set up a camera because he kept hearing strange noises outside at night, and when he reviewed the footage, he saw them. Two small white figures, maybe 2 to 4 feet tall, walking across his front lawn. They moved in this weird, smooth way, like they were gliding or floating, but you could see what looked like legs moving underneath. No arms, no visible head or face, just these pale humanoid leg creatures moving through the yard and then disappearing into the darkness. The footage went viral, and people were baffled. What the hell were these things? Since then, there have been a handful of other sightings and videos, mostly in California, but also in other parts of the United States. Every time the description is the same: short, white, or cream-colored leg-like creatures with minimal upper body, no visible arms, moving in that strange, gliding walk. They're always caught on camera at night, always moving slowly and deliberately, and they never interact with people or animals. They just walk through an area and disappear. And that's it. No attacks, no aggression, no threatening behavior. They're just walking. Now, theories about the Fresno Nightcrawler range from the mundane to the absolutely wild. Skeptics say it's a hoax, that people are just putting white sheets or fabric over stilts and filming them to create a creepy video. And honestly, some of the footage does look like it could be faked pretty easily. But believers point out that the original footage has been analyzed by video experts, and they couldn't find clear evidence of tampering. Plus, the creatures appear in multiple locations, filmed by different people who have no connection to each other. So either there's a coordinated hoax going on, or something genuinely strange is walking around at night. Other theories suggest the Nightcrawlers are aliens, interdimensional beings, or some kind of unknown species that's learned to avoid humans. Some Native American tribes in California have legends about stick people or walking legs, creatures that appear at night and are considered sacred or spiritual. Could the Fresno Nightcrawler be connected to those old legends? Maybe, but without more evidence, it's all speculation. What makes the Fresno Nightcrawler rank where it does is simple. It's not a threat. It's creepy, sure. It's bizarre, absolutely. It raises tons of questions about what it is and why it's here, but it doesn't attack, doesn't harm, doesn't even seem to acknowledge human existence. It's a mystery, an anomaly, something that makes you go, what the hell was that when you see it on camera? But it's not dangerous. You could probably walk right up to one and it would just keep walking, completely unbothered by your presence. And that's why the Fresno Nightcrawler is ranked so low on this list. In a lineup of creatures that hunt, kill, spread disease, and terrorize entire regions, the Nightcrawler is just vibing. It's out there doing its own thing, walking through yards completely harmless. It's eerie, it's unsettling, and it's one of the most unique cryptids ever documented. But when it comes to actual danger, it's at the bottom of the list. Still, if you see one of these things walking across your lawn at 2 a.m., you're probably not sleeping well that night. Because even if it's not dangerous, it's still one of the weirdest things you'll ever witness.
Goat Man. All right, next up, and now we're getting into creatures that are actually dangerous. Let's talk about the Goat Man. And this thing is terrifying for a few reasons. It's big, it's strong, and it's aggressive. The Goat Man is this muscular, humanoid creature with the legs, hooves, and horns of a goat, covered in fur, standing anywhere from 6 to 7 feet tall. And it doesn't just scare people, it attacks them. It chases them with axes, throws things at cars, and has been known to kill animals and possibly even humans. But here's why the Goat Man ranks where it does and not higher. It's location-specific. Most sightings happen in Maryland, particularly around the Goatman's Bridge and certain wooded areas. It targets specific victims, usually teenagers or people who are trespassing in its territory. So while it's absolutely dangerous if you encounter it, you have to go to it. It's not roaming the country hunting people, it's a territorial predator, and if you stay out of its area, you're safe. The Goat Man legend is most famous in Prince George's County, Maryland, where it's been reported since the 1950s and 60s.
The story goes that the goat man was either a scientist who was conducting experiments on goats and something went horribly wrong, transforming him into this half-human, half-goat monster, or it's some kind of demon or satanic entity that's always existed in the woods. Either way, the result is the same. A massive, bipedal creature with goat features that stalks the forests and back roads, particularly around Fletchertown Road and the areas near the Goatman's Bridge. And the Goatman is not passive. This thing is aggressive. The most famous stories involve it chasing cars, running alongside vehicles at high speeds, and slamming on the windows or the roof with its fists or an axe. Yes, some reports say the Goatman carries an axe, which takes it from scary cryptid to straight-up slasher movie territory. Teenagers who go to the area to test the legend, parking near the bridge, honking their horns, calling out for the Goatman, have reported seeing a huge figure emerge from the trees, charging at them with incredible speed. People have driven away with scratches and dents on their cars, terrified out of their minds, swearing they'll never go back. But the Goatman doesn't just scare people. There are reports of it killing animals. Dogs, livestock, even deer have been found mutilated in areas where the Goatman has been sighted. The kills are brutal, violent, and personal, like the creature is sending a message, "Stay out of my territory." And there are rumors, though never confirmed, of hikers and teenagers who went into the woods near the Goatman's territory and were never seen again. Are those disappearances connected to the Goatman? Nobody knows for sure, but the locals take it seriously. They warn people not to go to certain areas at night, not to provoke the creature, and definitely not to go alone. What makes the Goatman dangerous is its combination of strength, speed, and aggression. Witnesses describe it as incredibly muscular with powerful legs that allow it to run faster than a human and leap over obstacles with ease. Its horns and hooves make it a dangerous melee fighter, and if the axe stories are true, it's armed on top of that. This is not something you want to encounter in a dark forest. But here's the catch. The Goatman seems to stay in its territory. It's not traveling across the country attacking random people. It's a localized threat, and most encounters happen because people deliberately go looking for it. So if you're not in Maryland, if you're not trespassing in the woods where it's been sighted, you're probably safe. What makes the Goatman work as a legend is how it blends urban legend with legitimate fear. It's got the slasher movie vibe, a monster with a weapon, stalking teenagers in the woods, but it's also got the cryptid element. Sightings, footprints, unexplained animal deaths. It's scary enough to keep people away from certain areas, but localized enough that it's not a national threat. The Goatman is dangerous, absolutely. If you see it, you run. But it's ranked where it is because it's not hunting on a large scale. It's defending its territory, and as long as you respect that, you're probably fine. Probably.
Mothman. All right, next up, and now we're talking about one of the most famous and genuinely unsettling cryptids in American history, Mothman. And here's what makes Mothman so disturbing. It's not just a creature, it's a warning, an omen. People see Mothman right before disasters happen. Bridge collapses, plane crashes, catastrophic events. It appears in the shadows with those massive glowing red eyes, spreads its huge wings, and just stares at you. And then, days or weeks later, something terrible happens. So, is Mothman a predator? Not really. Is it dangerous? That depends on how you define dangerous. It doesn't seem to attack people directly, but its presence is associated with death and tragedy. It's more of a harbinger than a hunter, which is why it ranks where it does. It's powerful, it's ominous, and encountering it might mean you're about to witness something catastrophic. But it's not going to chase you down and tear you apart. It's just there to let you know something bad is coming. The Mothman legend started in Point Pleasant, West Virginia in 1966. And it's one of the most well-documented cryptid cases in history. Over the course of about a year, dozens of people reported seeing this massive humanoid creature with enormous wings standing anywhere from 6 to 7 feet tall with no visible head but two huge glowing red eyes set into its shoulders or chest. Witnesses described it as terrifying, not just because of how it looked, but because of how it made them feel.
overwhelming dread, like something was watching them from another dimension, something that knew things they didn't. The Mothman didn't attack anyone, but it was seen frequently, always at night, always near the TNT area, an old munitions site, or along back roads. People would be driving and suddenly see it standing on the side of the road, or it would fly alongside their cars at speeds over 100 miles per hour, keeping pace effortlessly, those red eyes locked onto them the entire time. And then, in December 1967, the Silver Bridge connecting Point Pleasant to Ohio collapsed during rush hour traffic, killing 46 people. It was a massive tragedy, and in the aftermath, people started connecting the dots. The Mothman sightings had been happening for over a year leading up to the collapse, and after the bridge fell, the Mothman sightings stopped. Just like that, gone. Like it had delivered its message and moved on. Since then, Mothman has been reported before other disasters around the world, before the Chernobyl disaster, before 9/11, before major earthquakes and accidents. It's become known as a harbinger of doom, a creature that appears when something catastrophic is about to happen. But here's the thing, Mothman doesn't cause the disasters, it just seems to know they're coming. Some theories suggest it's an interdimensional being that can see across time, witnessing future events and appearing as a warning. Others think it's attracted to the psychic energy or disturbances that precede disasters. And some believe it's something darker, a creature that feeds on tragedy, showing up to watch the suffering unfold. Whatever it is, Mothman is powerful. It can fly at incredible speeds, it seems to be nearly impossible to catch or harm, and it has this unnatural ability to inspire fear and dread in anyone who sees it. What makes Mothman rank where it does is the ambiguity. Is it dangerous? In the direct sense, no. There are no reports of Mothman attacking people, killing them, or even touching them. But in the indirect sense, absolutely. If you see Mothman, it might mean you're about to be caught in a disaster. It might mean you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that psychological weight, knowing that something terrible is coming, but not knowing what or when, that's a different kind of danger. It's mental, emotional, existential. Mothman doesn't hunt you, it haunts you. And the way Mothman looks adds to the terror. Those glowing red eyes, the massive wings, the lack of a visible head. It's alien, it's unnatural, it's wrong. Witnesses describe feeling paralyzed when they see it, unable to look away from those eyes, like it's reaching into their minds and pulling out their deepest fears. Some people report having nightmares for weeks after encountering it. Others say they started seeing it in their peripheral vision, like it was following them even after the initial sighting. Mothman gets into your head and it stays there. What makes Mothman so powerful as a legend is the combination of real sightings, documented events, and the eerie timing of disasters. The Silver Bridge collapse is a fact. The sightings leading up to it are documented. And the connection between the two is undeniable, even if we don't understand it. Mothman represents the fear of the unknown, the idea that there are forces out there we can't control or comprehend, forces that know more than we do. And sometimes those forces show up to watch. Not to help, not to harm, just to watch. And that's almost more terrifying than if it actually attacked.
Skinwalker. Next up, and we're diving back into one of the most feared and genuinely dangerous entities in Native American folklore, the Skinwalker. And I'm going to say this again. People do not like talking about skinwalkers. In Navajo culture, even speaking about them is considered dangerous because it can attract their attention. But we need to talk about them because they're real threats, at least to the people who believe in them and live in areas where they're reported. Skinwalkers are not creatures, they're witches, humans who chose to practice dark magic, who committed the ultimate act of evil, usually killing a close family member, to gain the power to shapeshift into animals. And once they have that power, they use it to terrorize, curse, and kill people. They're intelligent, they're cunning, and they're motivated by pure malice. But here's why skinwalkers rank where they do, and not higher. They're dangerous to individuals, not entire regions. They target specific people, specific families, and while they're absolutely lethal, they're not wiping out entire communities. Still, if a skinwalker has targeted you, you're in serious trouble. Skinwalkers, or Idnadloshi, are witches in Navajo tradition who've gained the ability to transform into animals by wearing their pelts. But they're not really becoming the animal, they're just using it as a disguise. And underneath, they're still human, or something that used to be human. The transformation requires an act of ultimate evil, usually murdering a close blood relative, which breaks something fundamental inside them and opens the door to dark power. Once someone becomes a skinwalker, they gain supernatural abilities, shape-shifting, superhuman speed and strength, the ability to read minds, curse people, cause illness, and even possess others. They're no longer bound by normal human limitations, and they use their powers to spread fear and suffering. And skinwalkers are active hunters. They don't just exist passively. They seek out victims. They'll stalk families, appearing outside homes at night in animal form, tapping on windows, mimicking the voices of loved ones, trying to lure people outside. Once you're isolated, once you're alone with a skinwalker, it can attack. Some stories describe them tearing people apart with claws and teeth. Others say they curse victims, causing illness, bad luck, or madness that slowly destroys them over time. And because skinwalkers are intelligent and were once human, they know how to manipulate, how to exploit weaknesses, how to maximize fear and suffering. What makes skinwalkers particularly dangerous is that they're hard to identify. During the day, they might look like any other person. They blend into communities, living normal lives, and you'd never know what they really are until it's too late. Some stories say you can recognize a skinwalker by their eyes. They reflect light like an animal's, even in human form. Others say they smell like decay or sulfur. But by the time you notice these signs, you're already in danger. And skinwalkers can move between forms quickly, so even if you see a coyote acting strangely, by the time you investigate, it might be standing behind you in human form. But here's why skinwalkers rank where they do and not higher. They operate on a personal level. They target individuals, families, or small groups. They're not attacking entire towns or regions. They're motivated by personal grudges, by the need to cause suffering to specific people. If a skinwalker decides you're a target, you're in serious danger. But if you're not on their radar, if you haven't crossed them or gotten their attention, you're probably safe. They're not random killers, they're calculated, personal, and strategic. There are ways to protect yourself from skinwalkers according to Navajo tradition. White ash is said to be effective. You can create protective barriers with it or use it as a weapon. Certain prayers and rituals can ward them off. And if you know a skinwalker's true human name and call them by it out loud, it breaks their power and forces them back into human form, making them vulnerable. But the problem is you'd have to know who they are, and most people don't until it's too late. What makes skinwalkers so terrifying is the betrayal they represent. These were humans once. They chose to become monsters. They killed their own family to gain power, and now they use that power to hurt others. They're not cursed victims, they're willing participants in evil, and that's what makes them so disturbing. Skinwalkers are proof that the worst monsters aren't always born. Sometimes they're made, by choice. And that's what puts them where they are on this list. Deadly, intelligent, and motivated by pure malice, but limited in scope.
Aswang. Next up, and we're heading back to the Philippines for one of the most feared creatures in all of Southeast Asian folklore, the Aswang. And this thing is a nightmare on multiple levels. It's a shapeshifter, which means it could be anyone. It hunts at night, feeding on pregnant women and unborn children. And it's smart and knows how to blend in, how to avoid detection, and how to strike when you're most vulnerable. The Aswang is a night predator that specifically targets the most innocent, most defenseless victims imaginable. But here's why it ranks where it does. While it's absolutely deadly and terrifying, it's vulnerable to certain rituals and protections. Salt, garlic, holy objects, specific prayers, these things can keep an Aswang away or even kill it. So it's dangerous, yes, but it's not invincible. If you know what you're dealing with and you take the right precautions, you can protect yourself. But if you don't know it's there, if you don't realize your neighbor is an Aswang until it's too late, you're done. The Aswang is one of the most complex creatures in Filipino mythology because it's not just one thing. It's a category of monsters that includes vampires, shapeshifters, and ghouls. But the most common and terrifying version is the one that feeds on pregnant women and their unborn children. During the day, the Aswang looks completely normal, living among humans without raising suspicion. It could be your neighbor, a shopkeeper, someone you see every day. But at night, the transformation happens. Its eyes start glowing red, reflecting light like an animal's. Its body becomes more gaunt, more predatory, and in some versions, it literally splits in half. The upper torso detaches and flies through the night, trailing its entrails behind it, similar to the pangolin we covered earlier. The Aswang hunts pregnant women using its long, thread-like tongue. It lands on the roof of a house, extends this grotesque tongue through gaps in the ceiling or walls, and uses it to pierce the woman's belly and feed on the unborn child. The victim doesn't even wake up. She just feels weaker and weaker until she loses the pregnancy, and no one understands why. In some versions, the Aswang replaces the fetus with sticks, grass, or other objects to hide what it's done, and by the time anyone realizes something's wrong, the Aswang is long gone, back in human form, acting innocent. But the Aswang doesn't just target unborn children. It also hunts sick people, corpses at wakes, and anyone who's vulnerable and alone. It can shapeshift into animals, dogs, pigs, birds to move around undetected or to escape when threatened. And it makes this distinctive ticking sound when it's nearby, like a clock. But here's the creepy part. The ticking gets quieter as it gets closer, so if you hear loud ticking, the Aswang is still far away. But if the kicking fades to almost nothing, it's right next to you. What makes the Aswang rank where it does is the balance between its danger level and its vulnerabilities. Yes, it's a deadly predator that targets the most vulnerable victims. Yes, it's intelligent and can blend in perfectly during the day, but it's also affected by traditional protections. Salt scattered around a house can keep it out. Garlic hung in windows repels it. Holy water, crucifixes, and prayers can ward it off or even kill it. In Filipino communities where the Aswang legend is taken seriously, pregnant women are protected with these methods, and it works, or at least people believe it works. The Aswang is powerful, but it's not unstoppable. There are also ways to identify an Aswang during the day, though they're subtle. The reflection in their eyes is upside down. They avoid certain religious symbols. They sometimes smell like raw meat or decay, even in human form. And if you look at their shadow during sunset, it doesn't match their body. It might show their true form, but most people don't notice these signs until it's too late. What makes the Aswang so terrifying is how it weaponizes trust and normalcy. It lives among humans, interacts with them, gains their trust, and then feeds on them when they're at their most vulnerable. It's the ultimate betrayal, the monster next door, the predator hiding in plain sight. And the fact that it targets pregnant women and babies makes it especially disturbing. It's not just killing for survival, it's taking away life before it even has a chance to begin. That's evil in its purest form. And that's why the Aswang sits where it does on this list. Deadly, intelligent, and deeply feared, but not invincible. It can be stopped, but only if you know it's there.
Wendigo. All right, next up, and we're talking about one of the most terrifying creatures in Native American folklore, the Wendigo. And this thing is pure nightmare fuel. The Wendigo isn't just a monster, it's a curse, a transformation that happens when someone resorts to cannibalism during times of extreme starvation. Once you eat human flesh, you become possessed by this insatiable hunger that can never be satisfied. You transform into this gaunt, skeletal creature with elongated limbs, grayish skin stretched tight over bones, sunken eyes, and an overwhelming stench of death and decay. And here's the worst part. The more you eat, the hungrier you become. The Wendigo is always starving, always hunting, always looking for its next victim. It's fast, it's strong, and it's relentless. But here's why the Wendigo ranks where it does. It's primarily found in specific regions, the northern forests of the United States and Canada, particularly in areas where harsh winters and isolation make survival difficult. It's not a global threat. If you're in Wendigo territory during winter, you're in danger. But if you're not, you're probably safe. The Wendigo legend comes from Algonquian-speaking tribes, the Cree, Ojibwe, and others who lived in the harsh northern wilderness where winters were brutal and food was scarce. The Wendigo represents the ultimate taboo, cannibalism. It's a warning about what happens when you cross that line, when survival instinct overrides humanity. Once someone becomes a Wendigo, they lose everything that made them human. They become this gaunt, emaciated figure, sometimes described as being 10 to 15 feet tall, with antlers or horns growing from their skull, claws like knives, and teeth designed for tearing flesh. Some versions say the Wendigo's heart is made of ice, and the only way to kill it is to shatter that frozen heart or burn the body completely. And the Wendigo is an active, aggressive hunter. It doesn't wait for victims to come to it. It stalks them through the forest, moving silently through the snow, always watching, always waiting for the right moment to strike. Witnesses who claim to have encountered a Wendigo describe feeling an overwhelming sense of dread, like something was watching them from the darkness, something that radiated pure malevolence. The Wendigo can mimic human voices, calling out to lure people away from safety. It moves incredibly fast, able to cover vast distances in the blink of an eye. And when it attacks, it's brutal and savage, tearing victims apart and devouring them on the spot. But what makes the Wendigo particularly terrifying is the psychological aspect. The transformation isn't just physical, it's mental. People who are turning into Wendigos start to exhibit warning signs: extreme aggression, obsessive thoughts about cannibalism, paranoia, and an insatiable hunger that food can't satisfy. In historical accounts, tribes would sometimes execute members who showed these signs, believing it was the only way to stop the transformation before it was complete. Because once someone fully becomes a Wendigo, there's no coming back. They're lost forever. The Wendigo also represents something deeper: the fear of losing your humanity, of being so consumed by hunger or desperation that you do the unthinkable. It's a warning about what happens when survival comes at the cost of morality. And in the harsh northern wilderness where the legend originated, that fear was very real. Winters could last for months, food could run out, and people could find themselves in situations where cannibalism seemed like the only option. The Wendigo legend served as a deterrent, a reminder that some lines should never be crossed, no matter how desperate you become. What makes the Wendigo rank where it does is the combination of factors. It's absolutely deadly and relentless once it's hunting you. It's fast, it's strong, and nearly impossible to escape. But it's also geographically limited. The Wendigo is primarily a threat in the northern forests during winter, in remote areas where people are isolated and vulnerable. If you're not in that environment, if you're not in Wendigo territory, you're probably safe. But if you are, if you're camping in the northern wilderness during a harsh winter and you hear something moving through the trees, something that sounds almost human but not quite, you need to get out of there immediately. Because the Wendigo doesn't stop, it doesn't give up, and it's always hungry. The Wendigo is also vulnerable to certain methods. Fire is particularly effective. Burning the body completely is said to destroy it permanently. Some legends say you need to melt or shatter its frozen heart. And in some traditions, powerful shaman or medicine men could perform rituals to banish or contain a Wendigo. But these methods require preparation, knowledge, and resources that most people don't have when they're facing one in the wild. What makes the Wendigo endure as a legend is how it taps into fundamental human fears: starvation, isolation, losing your humanity, and becoming the thing you fear most. It's not just a monster, it's a transformation, a curse, a warning. And for the people who live in the regions where the Wendigo is said to roam, it's not just a story, it's a very real fear that's passed down through generations. The Wendigo sits where it does on this list because while it's absolutely deadly and relentless once it's hunting you, it's fast, it's strong, and nearly impossible to escape. But it's also geographically limited. The Wendigo is primarily a threat in the northern forests during winter, in remote areas where people are isolated and vulnerable. If you're not in that environment, if you're not in Wendigo territory, you're probably safe. But if you are, if you're camping in the northern wilderness during a harsh winter and you hear something moving through the trees, something that sounds almost human but not quite, you need to get out of there immediately. Because the Wendigo doesn't stop, it doesn't give up, and it's always hungry.
Beast of Bray Road. All right, next up, and we're talking about one of the most famous cryptids in the American Midwest, the Beast of Bray Road. And this thing is terrifying because it's
basically a werewolf. Not the Hollywood version with transformations during full moons, but a real, physical creature that's been spotted multiple times in Wisconsin since the 1980s. The Beast of Bray Road is described as a massive, wolf-like creature that walks upright on two legs, stands anywhere from 6 to 7 feet tall, is covered in thick, dark fur, and has a muscular, powerful build. Witnesses described glowing yellow or amber eyes, long claws, and a wolf-like snout with sharp teeth. And here's what makes it dangerous. This thing is fast, it's strong, and it's been known to chase cars, attack animals, and stalk people. But here's why the beast ranks where it does. It stalks more than it attacks. Most encounters end with the creature watching from a distance or chasing briefly before disappearing into the woods. There are very few confirmed cases of it actually attacking humans directly. It's aggressive, absolutely, but it seems more interested in intimidation than killing. Still, you do not want to encounter this thing alone on a dark road. The Beast of Bray Road gets its name from Bray Road in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, where the majority of sightings have occurred. The legend really took off in the late 1980s and early 1990s when multiple witnesses reported seeing this massive bipedal wolf creature on or near the road. One of the most famous accounts came from a woman who was driving late at night and saw what she thought was a person kneeling on the side of the road. As she got closer, the figure stood up, and she realized it wasn't human at all. It was this huge, muscular creature covered in fur with a wolf-like head and glowing eyes. It stared at her for a moment, then ran off into the woods with incredible speed. She reported it to authorities, and soon other witnesses came forward with similar stories. And the descriptions are remarkably consistent. Witnesses describe the beast as being massive, much larger than a normal wolf, with a build that's more humanoid than animal. It walks upright on two legs, but can also run on all fours when it needs to move quickly. Its fur is usually described as dark brown or black, thick and matted, and those eyes, everyone mentions the eyes. They glow in the dark, reflecting light like an animal's, and they have this intelligence behind them, like the creature's thinking, calculating, deciding whether you're a threat or prey. The Beast of Bray Road has been seen in multiple locations, always in rural, wooded areas. It's been spotted crossing roads, running through fields, and even peering into car windows. Some witnesses report it chasing their vehicles, running alongside them at speeds of 35 to 40 miles per hour before veering off into the forest. Others describe it standing in the tree line, just watching them with those glowing eyes. And there are reports of it attacking livestock and pets, dogs, chickens, sheep, leaving behind partially eaten carcasses and tracks that don't match any known animal. But here's the thing. The beast doesn't seem to attack humans directly very often. Most encounters are brief. The creature appears, watches, or chases for a short distance, and then disappears. There are stories of people feeling threatened, of the creature charging toward them, or getting uncomfortably close, but actual physical attacks on humans are rare. It's almost like the beast is testing people, seeing how they react, but not fully committing to an attack. And that raises questions. Is it intelligent enough to avoid killing humans because it knows that would bring hunters? Is it just naturally cautious? Or is it not actually interested in humans as prey? Nobody knows. What makes the Beast of Bray Road dangerous is its physical capabilities. Witnesses describe it as incredibly muscular and powerful, easily capable of overpowering a human. Its claws are long and sharp, its teeth are designed to tear flesh, and its speed and agility make it nearly impossible to outrun on foot. If the beast decided to attack someone in the woods, that person would have almost no chance of defending themselves. But the fact remains, it doesn't seem to make that choice very often. The Beast of Bray Road has become such a famous legend that it's drawn cryptid hunters and paranormal investigators from all over the country. People go to Bray Road at night hoping to catch a glimpse of the creature, and while sightings have continued over the years, they're sporadic and unpredictable. Some people believe it's a surviving population of prehistoric wolves that evolved to walk upright. Others think it's a supernatural entity, a werewolf in the traditional sense. Skeptics say it's just misidentified bears or large dogs, but witnesses who've seen it up close insist that what they saw was not a bear, not a dog, it was something else entirely. What makes the Beast of Bray Road rank where it does is the balance between its potential danger and its actual behavior. Yes, it's big, strong, fast, and terrifying. Yes, if it wanted to kill someone, it probably could, but the evidence suggests it's more of a stalker than a hunter when it comes to humans. It watches, it intimidates, it chases briefly, and then it leaves. It's not actively hunting people, not attacking on sight. And that puts it in this middle tier of the list. Dangerous if provoked, terrifying if encountered, but not the apex predator that's higher up. Still, if you're driving down a dark country road in Wisconsin and you see something large and furry standing on two legs in your headlights, keep driving. Don't stop, don't investigate. Because even if the Beast of Bray Road doesn't usually attack humans, there's always a first time.
The yowie has been described as a massive, ape-like creature, standing anywhere from 7 to 10 feet tall, covered in thick, dark hair, with a powerful, muscular build and long arms that reach down past its knees. It's got a flat, ape-like face, deep-set eyes, and a mouth full of large teeth. But what makes the yowie more dangerous than your typical Bigfoot sighting is its behavior. This thing is territorial, it's aggressive, and there are multiple reports of it attacking people who wander into its domain. Unlike Bigfoot, which seems to avoid humans at all costs, the yowie will confront you, intimidate you, and if you don't back off, it will attack. And here's why it ranks where it does. It's a legitimate physical threat with the strength to kill a human easily, but it's still geographically limited to certain regions of Australia, particularly remote bushland areas. If you're in yowie territory, you're in danger, but it's not roaming cities or populated areas. The yowie legend goes back centuries in Aboriginal Australian culture, where it's known by various names depending on the tribe. Yaramahayahu, Changara, Quinkin. The Aboriginal people have always respected and feared these creatures, warning that they inhabit remote areas of the bush and should be avoided at all costs. Modern sightings started appearing in the 1800s, when European settlers began exploring the Australian wilderness, and they've continued ever since. Witnesses describe encountering this massive, hairy creature that walks upright, moves with surprising speed and agility through thick bush, and emits this horrible guttural roar that echoes through the forest. And the yowie is not shy. Unlike Bigfoot, which typically flees when spotted, the yowie has been known to approach humans, sometimes aggressively. There are reports of campers being stalked for hours, with the yowie circling their campsite, making vocalizations, throwing rocks and branches, and getting closer and closer until the people fled in terror. Some witnesses describe the yowie charging at them, forcing them to run for their vehicles or scramble up trees to escape. And there are darker stories. Unconfirmed reports of hikers who went into the bush and were never seen again, with only torn clothing or signs of struggle left behind. Are those disappearances connected to the yowie? Nobody can prove it, but the locals take it seriously. What makes the yowie particularly dangerous is its physical capabilities. This thing is massive, easily weighing 400 to 600 pounds of pure muscle. Its arms are incredibly long and powerful, capable of tearing apart tree limbs and throwing heavy objects with ease. Witnesses who've had close encounters describe feeling completely helpless, knowing that if the yowie decided to attack, there would be nothing they could do to defend themselves. It's fast too. Some reports describe it running at speeds that no human could match, crashing through dense bush like it's nothing. And it's intelligent. The yowie seems to understand tactics, using intimidation and psychological warfare before resorting to physical confrontation. The yowie also has this unsettling habit of mimicking sounds. Some witnesses report hearing what sounds like a human voice calling for help, only to realize it's coming from deep in the bush where no person should be. Others describe hearing animal sounds that don't quite match any known Australian wildlife. It's like the yowie's trying to lure people into the forest, away from safety, where it has the advantage. And that shows a level of intelligence that goes beyond simple animal behavior. This thing thinks, it plans, and it uses the environment to its advantage. What makes the yowie rank where it does is the combination of size, strength, aggression, and intelligence.
It's not just a big ape that runs away when spotted. It's a territorial predator that will defend its space and actively intimidate or attack intruders. But it's still limited to specific regions of Australia, particularly remote bushland in Queensland, New South Wales, and parts of Victoria. If you stay in populated areas, if you don't venture deep into the bush, you'll never encounter one. But if you do go hiking in remote areas, if you camp in regions where the yowie has been sighted, you need to take it seriously. The locals will tell you, don't go alone, don't stay out after dark, and if you hear something moving through the trees, something that sounds too big to be a kangaroo or wombat, you leave immediately. There are also reports of the yowie being protective of certain areas, particularly places that might have cultural or spiritual significance to Aboriginal tribes. Some Aboriginal elders believe the yowie is a guardian of sacred sites, a protector that keeps intruders away from places humans shouldn't be. And if that's true, then the yowie's aggression isn't random, it's purposeful. It's defending something, and it sees humans as threats to be driven away or eliminated. What makes the yowie terrifying is the combination of its physical presence and its unpredictability. You never know if an encounter is going to end with the creature just watching you from a distance or charging at you with murderous intent. And that uncertainty, that fear of not knowing what it's going to do, is what keeps people out of certain areas of the Australian bush. The yowie sits where it does on this list because it's a confirmed physical threat with multiple documented encounters showing aggressive behavior. It's got the size and strength to kill easily, and it's not afraid of humans. But it's still localized to specific regions of Australia, and as long as you respect those boundaries, you can avoid it. Just don't go looking for it, because the yowie doesn't run from confrontation, it embraces it.
Yiren. Next up, and we're heading to China to talk about one of Asia's most mysterious and dangerous cryptids, the Yiren. And this thing is China's version of Bigfoot, but with a reputation that's far more sinister. The Yiren, which translates to wild man, is described as a large bipedal primate standing anywhere from 6 to 8 feet tall, covered in reddish-brown or gray hair, with a humanoid face, powerful arms, and a muscular build. But what makes the Yiren more dangerous than a typical ape sighting is that it's nocturnal, it's aggressive when encountered, and there are reports of it attacking humans who venture too deep into its territory. The Yiren inhabits the remote mountainous regions of central China, particularly in Hubei province and the Shenangjin Nature Reserve, where dense forests and steep terrain make it nearly impossible to track or escape from. And here's why it ranks where it does. It's a legitimate physical threat that's been documented for centuries with eyewitness accounts from locals, scientists, and explorers. It's got the strength to overpower a human easily, and it operates in an environment where help is hours or days away. The Yiren legend goes back over 2,000 years in Chinese history, with references appearing in ancient texts and folklore, but modern sightings really picked up in the 1970s and 1980s when the Chinese government actually funded expeditions to search for the creature. Hundreds of witnesses came forward with stories of encountering this massive, hair-covered humanoid in the forests. Some described it as curious but cautious, watching from a distance before disappearing into the trees. But others reported far more aggressive encounters, the Yiren charging at them, roaring, throwing objects, or chasing them through the forest. And there are darker stories of people who went into the mountains and never came back, with only scattered belongings or signs of a struggle found later. What makes the Yiren particularly dangerous is its environment. The Shenangjin region is one of the most remote and treacherous areas in China, with dense forests, steep cliffs, and limited human presence. If you encounter a Yiren in this environment, you're completely isolated. There's no calling for help, no running to safety. You're on the creature's turf, and it knows every inch of that terrain. Witnesses describe the Yiren moving through the forest with incredible speed and agility, navigating obstacles that would slow a human to a crawl. It's adapted to this environment in ways we can't match, and that gives it a massive advantage. The Yiren is also described as being incredibly strong. Witnesses who've had close encounters talk about seeing it snap thick tree branches like twigs, move boulders that would take multiple people to lift, and leap across ravines that no human could cross. Its arms are long and powerful, and its hands are massive with thick fingers that could easily crush bone. If the Yiren decides to attack, you're not fighting it off, you're not escaping. Your only hope is that it decides you're not worth the effort and lets you go. But what really makes the Yiren unsettling is its intelligence.
This isn't just a dumb animal acting on instinct. The yiren seems to understand tactics, to assess threats, to make decisions based on the situation. Some witnesses describe it observing them from multiple angles, circling around to get a better view, using the terrain to stay hidden while it watches. Others report the yiren using vocalizations, loud, booming calls that echo through the mountains, possibly communicating with other yiren or trying to intimidate intruders. And there are reports of it using tools, throwing rocks with incredible accuracy, breaking branches to create noise and confusion, even setting up what appear to be territorial markers or warning signs. The Chinese government takes the yiren seriously enough that they've established protected areas and funded research into the creature. Plaster casts have been made of footprints, massive human-like prints that are far too large to belong to any known primate in the region. Hair samples have been collected and analyzed, with results showing DNA that doesn't match any known species. And there are photographs and videos, though like most cryptid evidence, they're grainy, unclear, and heavily debated. But the sheer volume of sightings, the consistency of descriptions, and the historical documentation make it hard to dismiss the yiren as pure folklore. What makes the yiren rank where it does is the combination of physical danger, environmental advantage, and documented encounters. This thing has the size and strength to kill a human easily. It operates in a remote, treacherous environment where humans are at a massive disadvantage, and it's been seen and reported consistently for centuries with enough credible witnesses that it can't be easily dismissed. But it's still geographically limited to specific regions of China, and if you're not in those areas, you'll never encounter one. The yiren is also primarily nocturnal, which adds another layer of danger. Most encounters happen at night or in the early morning hours when visibility is poor and humans are at their most vulnerable. Imagine hiking through dense forest in the mountains, miles from civilization, and hearing something large moving through the trees. You shine your flashlight and catch a glimpse of something tall and hairy, something that's definitely not a bear or any animal you recognize, and it's moving towards you. What do? You can't outrun it. You can't fight it. Your only hope is that it decides you're not worth the effort and lets you go. But what really makes the yiren terrifying is the combination of its physical presence and the environment it inhabits. It's not just that the creature is dangerous, it's that you're completely at its mercy if you encounter it in the wild. There's no backup, no escape routes, no safety nets. You're in its world and it knows that. The yiren sits where it does on this list because it's a confirmed physical threat in an environment where humans are outmatched. It's got the tools to kill, and it's got the home field advantage. Stay out of the remote mountains of central China and you'll never have to worry about it. But if you do venture into yiren territory, you better be prepared for the possibility that you're not alone out there, and that what's watching you from the trees is far more dangerous than you can imagine.
Gugwe. Next up, and we're talking about one of the most violent and aggressive cryptids in North American folklore, the Gugwe. And this thing is basically Bigfoot's psychotic cousin. While Bigfoot is generally described as shy and reclusive, avoiding human contact whenever possible, the Gugwe is the exact opposite. This creature is aggressive, territorial, and has been known to actively hunt and attack humans. The Gugwe is described as a large bipedal primate standing between 7 to 9 feet tall, covered in dark, matted fur, with a hunched posture and arms that reach down past its knees. But here's what makes it different from other hominid cryptids: its face. The Gugwe has a protruding jaw filled with large, shark teeth, more carnivorous than ape-like, and witnesses describe it as having a distinctly predatory appearance. This isn't a gentle giant hiding in the woods. This is a hunter, and humans are on its menu. And here's why the Gugwe ranks where it does. It's actively dangerous, with multiple reports of it attacking people, killing livestock, and displaying behavior that suggests it sees humans as prey, not threats. The Gugwe legend comes primarily from the forests of the northeastern United States and eastern Canada, particularly in Maine, New Brunswick, and parts of Quebec. The name Gugwe comes from the Maliseet people, an indigenous tribe from the region who have stories about this creature going back centuries. In their folklore, the Gugwe is a forest monster that hunts humans, particularly targeting lone travelers or small groups. It's described as being incredibly strong, fast, and intelligent, with the ability to track prey for miles and set up ambushes. And unlike other cryptids that flee when spotted, the Gugwe stands its ground. It challenges. It attacks.
Modern sightings of the Gugwe started appearing in the early 1900s, with reports from loggers, hunters, and hikers who encountered something in the deep woods that they couldn't explain. Witnesses described seeing this massive, hunched creature, watching them from the trees, following them at a distance, and then suddenly charging with terrifying speed. Some people managed to escape by getting to vehicles or shelters. Others weren't so lucky. There are stories, unconfirmed but persistent, of hikers and hunters who went into the woods and never came back, with search parties finding only torn clothing, scattered belongings, and signs of a violent struggle. Authorities usually blame bears or other wildlife, but the locals know better. They know about the Gugwe. What makes the Gugwe particularly dangerous is its hunting behavior. This thing doesn't just stumble upon humans and react. It actively tracks and pursues them. Witnesses describe being followed for hours, with the creature staying just out of sight, but making its presence known through vocalizations, broken branches, and that overwhelming feeling of being watched. It's psychological warfare, wearing down its prey before moving in for the kill. And when it does attack, it's brutal and efficient. The Gugwe is described as having massive strength, capable of breaking bones with its bare hands, tearing through flesh with its teeth and claws, and moving with speed that makes escape nearly impossible. The Gugwe's physical appearance also sets it apart from other hominid cryptids. While Bigfoot is often described as having a relatively flat, ape-like face, the Gugwe's jaw protrudes forward, filled with teeth that are more suited for tearing meat than grinding vegetation. Its eyes are described as deep-set and predatory, reflecting light like a carnivore's, and its build is more muscular and aggressive-looking, with thick arms, broad shoulders, and a posture that suggests it's built for combat, not foraging. This is a creature that's evolved or adapted to hunt, and it's good at what it does. There are also reports of the Gugwe displaying pack behavior. While most encounters involve a single creature, some witnesses describe seeing multiple Gugwe working together, coordinating movements and surrounding prey. If that's true, it makes them even more dangerous. A single Gugwe is a serious threat. Multiple Gugwe working together would be nearly unstoppable. They could flank victims, cut off escape routes, and overwhelm even armed groups through sheer numbers and coordination. What makes the Gugwe rank where it does is the combination of aggression, hunting behavior, and physical capabilities. This isn't a creature that avoids humans or only attacks when threatened. It actively hunts them. It tracks, it stalks, it attacks with intent to kill. And it's got the physical tools to make that happen. Size, strength, speed, and teeth designed for carnivorous feeding. But it's still geographically limited to specific regions of the northeastern United States and eastern Canada, primarily in remote, heavily forested areas. If you're not in those regions, you'll never encounter one. But if you're hiking or camping in deep woods where the Gugwe has been reported, you need to take precautions. Don't go alone, make noise to avoid surprising one, and if you see something large and hunched watching you from the trees, don't investigate. Leave immediately. The Gugwe also seems to be more active during certain times of year, particularly in late fall and winter when other food sources become scarce. Some researchers believe this is when the Gugwe becomes more desperate and more willing to target larger prey, including humans. There are reports of increased sightings and encounters during these months, with the creature becoming bolder and more aggressive in its hunting behavior. What makes the Gugwe terrifying is the intent behind it. This isn't a creature that's just defending its territory or reacting to a threat. It's hunting. It's making calculated decisions about when and how to attack. It's using intelligence and physical prowess to take down prey. And when that prey is you, when you're being stalked through the woods by something that sees you as food, that's a level of terror that's hard to describe. The Gugwe sits where it does on this list because it's an active, intelligent predator with the size and strength to kill humans easily. It's not the most powerful creature on this list, but it's one of the most aggressive and dangerous when it comes to direct human interaction. Stay out of the deep woods of the Northeast, especially in late fall and winter, and you'll be fine. But if you do venture into Gugwe territory, watch your back, because something might be watching you, and it's not just curious, it's hungry.
Next up, and we're heading to Scotland to talk about one of the most horrifying and genuinely evil creatures in all of folklore, the Knuckleavee. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this thing is pure nightmare fuel. The knuckleavay is a demonic creature from Orkney Island's mythology, and is described as this horrific fusion of a horse and a humanoid figure. But here's the twist: it has no skin. You can see its muscles, its veins, its black blood pumping through exposed arteries. Its breath is toxic, spreading disease and death wherever it goes. It emerges from the sea during storms and droughts to bring plague, crop failure, and death to coastal communities. And here's why the knuckleavay ranks where it does. It's not just a physical threat. It's a plague carrier, a bringer of mass death. A single knuckleavay can wipe out entire villages through disease and famine. But it's vulnerable to fresh water and can be driven back to the sea, which is the only reason it's not higher on this list. Still, if a knuckleavay emerges in your area, you're looking at catastrophic loss of life. The knuckleavay is one of the most feared creatures in Scottish folklore, particularly in the Orkney Islands where the legend originated. It's described as having the torso of a man fused to the back of a horse, but both figures are completely skinless. You can see every muscle, every vein, every internal organ pulsing beneath the surface. Its head is massive, much larger than a normal human head, with a single enormous eye that glows red or yellow. Its mouth is huge, filled with sharp teeth, and its breath is described as toxic, literally poisonous. People who get too close to the knuckleavay describe feeling immediately sick, dizzy, nauseous, and weak, and those who breathe in too much of its foul breath often die within days from mysterious illnesses. But the knuckleavay's true danger isn't just its physical appearance or its toxic breath, it's what it brings with it. The knuckleavay is blamed for mortasheen, a plague that kills livestock and crops. When a knuckleavay emerges from the sea, it brings drought, blight, and disease. Crops wither and die, livestock becomes sick and dies, and humans who encounter it or who live in areas where it's passed through develop horrible illnesses, fevers, sores, respiratory problems. The knuckleavay doesn't just kill individuals, it destroys entire communities, wiping out food supplies and spreading plague that can kill dozens or even hundreds of people. And the knuckleavay ain't active, aggressive, and seemingly motivated by pure malice. It doesn't stay in one place, it roams the coastline, spreading death wherever it goes. Witnesses who claim to have seen it describe it emerging from the sea during storms, its massive form silhouetted against the waves, its toxic breath creating a visible cloud of foul air. It moves onto land, galloping through fields and villages, trampling crops, attacking livestock, and breathing its poison on anyone unfortunate enough to be in its path. And then it returns to the sea, leaving devastation in its wake. But here's the thing that keeps the knuckleavay from ranking even higher. It's vulnerable to fresh water, running fresh water specifically. If you can get to a stream, a river, or even a small creek and cross it, the knuckleavay can't follow. It's bound by this limitation, unable to cross fresh water. And if you throw fresh water on it, it recoils in pain, sometimes retreating back to the sea. This vulnerability is why coastal communities in Orkney developed rituals and protections involving fresh water, keeping buckets of it near doorways, blessing their homes with it, and knowing where the nearest streams were in case they needed to flee. There's also a protector figure in the mythology called the Mither of the Sea, a benevolent sea spirit who keeps the knuckleavay imprisoned beneath the waves during most of the year. But during the summer months, particularly during droughts when the Mither of the Sea's power is weakest, the knuckleavay can break free and terrorize the land. That's when communities are most at risk, and that's when people take extra precautions, avoiding the coastline at night, keeping fresh water handy, and performing rituals to strengthen the Mither of the Sea's hold over the monster. What makes the knuckleavay rank where it does is the scale of destruction it can cause. This isn't a creature that attacks one person at a time. It brings mass death through disease and famine. A single appearance can devastate an entire region, killing dozens of people indirectly through illness and starvation. That puts it in a higher threat category than most cryptids. But it's also limited by its vulnerability to fresh water and by the fact that it can only emerge during specific times when the Mither of the Sea's power is weak. So while it's incredibly dangerous when it does appear, those appearances are relatively rare and can be defended against if you know what you're doing. The knuckleavay's appearance is also psychologically devastating. Imagine seeing this skinless horseman hybrid emerging from the sea, its muscles and veins exposed, its massive eyes staring at you, its breath creating a visible cloud of toxins. The sheer horror of witnessing something like that would traumatize you for life. And knowing that its presence means disease and death are coming for your community adds another layer of terror. The knuckleavay isn't just a monster, it's an omen of mass suffering. What makes the knuckleavay particularly evil in folklore is that it seems to take pleasure in causing suffering. It's not just killing for food or defending territory, it's spreading death for the sake of death. It's destroying crops and livestock not because it needs them, but because it wants to cause starvation. It's breathing its toxic fumes not as a defense mechanism, but as an attack. The knuckleavay represents pure malevolence, the kind of evil that exists only to cause pain and destruction, and that's what makes it sit where it does on this list. A creature of mass death, a plague carrier, a bringer of famine and suffering, deadly on a scale most cryptids can't match, but vulnerable enough that it can be stopped or driven away if you know what you're doing.
Loch Ness Monster is probably the most famous cryptid in the entire world, the Loch Ness, or Nessie as it's affectionately called. But let's drop the cute nickname for a second and talk about what this thing actually is if it exists. An apex aquatic predator living in one of the largest, deepest freshwater lakes in the world. The Loch Ness Monster is typically described as a massive creature, somewhere between 20 to 40 feet long with a long neck, a small head, 4 flippers, and a thick, powerful body. Most theories suggest it's either a surviving plesiosaur from the age of dinosaurs or some kind of unknown aquatic reptile or mammal. And here's why the Loch Ness Monster ranks where it does. If it exists, it's a massive predator living in an environment where humans are at a complete disadvantage. Loch Ness is over 750 feet deep in places, with visibility near zero in the murky water. If something that size decided to attack a boat, there would be almost nothing you could do. But here's the catch. In centuries of sightings, there are no confirmed attacks on humans. Nessie seems to avoid people, diving deep whenever boats approach. So while the potential danger is enormous, the actual threat has been minimal. Still, the size, power, and environment put it high on this list. Loch Ness is located in the Scottish Highlands and is the largest body of fresh water by volume in the entire British Isles. It's massive, about 23 miles long, over a mile wide, and with depths reaching over 750 feet. And the water is dark, stained with peat, which makes visibility terrible even in shallow areas. If something wants to hide in Loch Ness, it can hide easily. And that's exactly what people believe the Loch Ness Monster does. Sightings go back over 1,500 years, with the earliest written account from 565 AD describing an Irish monk named Saint Columba encountering a water beast in the River Ness. But the modern legend really took off in 1933 when a couple reported seeing a massive creature crossing the road near the loch, and then a famous photograph, later revealed to be a hoax, appeared showing what looks like a long-necked creature rising from the water. Since then, there have been thousands of reported sightings, photographs, sonar readings, and even video footage claiming to show the Loch Ness Monster. Witnesses describe seeing something large moving through the water, creating a wake that's far too big for any known fish or seal. Others report seeing humps breaking the surface, a long neck with a small head, or massive flippers churning the water. And sonar scans have detected large moving objects in the deep water that don't match any known species. None of this is definitive proof, but the consistency of reports and the unexplained sonar readings keep the legend alive. So what would the Loch Ness Monster be if it existed? Most cryptozoologists believe it's a plesiosaur, a marine reptile that went extinct about 66 million years ago. Plesiosaurs had long necks, small heads, 4 large flippers, and streamlined bodies perfect for aquatic life. The problem with this theory is that plesiosaurs were marine reptiles, and Loch Ness is a freshwater lake. They would have needed to breathe air, meaning they'd have to surface regularly. And with the amount of boat traffic and tourism on Loch Ness, a breeding population of large air-breathing reptiles would almost certainly have been definitively documented by now. Other theories suggest it's a giant eel, an unknown species of sturgeon, or some kind of evolved marine mammal that adapted to fresh water. But without a body, bones, or clear video evidence, it's all speculation.
What makes the Loch Ness Monster dangerous, potentially, is its size and environment. If you're in a boat on Loch Ness and something 30 feet long and weighing several tons decides to surface underneath you or ram you from below, you are going into the water. And Loch Ness is cold, really cold. The water temperature rarely gets above 50 degrees Fahrenheit, even in summer. If you fall in, hypothermia sets in quickly. And if something pulled you under in water that deep and that dark, there would be no rescue. You'd disappear without a trace. But here's why the Loch Ness Monster isn't ranked even higher. There are no confirmed attacks. In all of the centuries of reports, not a single person has been confirmed killed or injured by the Loch Ness Monster. There are stories of boats being rocked or disturbed by something large passing underneath, and fishermen occasionally report losing nets or lines to something powerful, but no direct attacks on humans. The Loch Ness Monster, if it exists, seems to actively avoid people. It dives when boats approach, it stays in the deep water where humans rarely venture. It's either intelligent enough to avoid confrontation or simply not interested in humans as prey. The Loch Ness Monster also benefits from its environment in terms of survival and concealment. Loch Ness is connected to the sea through the River Ness, meaning it's theoretically possible for large marine animals to enter and exit the loch. The water is deep enough to hide something massive, and the poor visibility means even large creatures could move through the water undetected. And with millions of gallons of water and countless caves and underwater structures, there are plenty of places for a large animal to hide, feed, and breed without being seen. What makes the Loch Ness Monster rank where it does is the potential danger versus the actual behavior. Potentially, a 30-foot aquatic predator in a deep, cold lake is incredibly dangerous. It has size, strength, and home field advantage. Humans in the water would be helpless. But in practice, the Loch Ness Monster has never hurt anyone. It avoids contact, stays hidden, and minds its own business. So while it could be a massive threat if it wanted to be, it chooses not to be. That puts it in this weird middle zone. Dangerous if provoked or if circumstances change, but currently passive. Still, if I were kayaking on Loch Ness and something massive surfaced next to me, I'd probably have a heart attack, because the potential for danger is absolutely real, even if it's never been realized.
Bunyip. All right, next up, and we're heading back to Australia to talk about one of the oldest and most feared water-dwelling cryptids in Aboriginal mythology, the bunyip. And this thing is a nightmare for anyone who gets too close to the water. The bunyip is described as a massive aquatic creature that lurks in swamps, billabongs, creeks, and waterholes across Australia. Its appearance varies depending on who you ask. Some describe it as seal-like with a dog-like face, others say it's reptilian with a long neck like a plesiosaur, and still others claim it's got a massive starfish-shaped body with tentacles. But here's what everyone agrees on. The bunyip is an ambush predator that drags victims underwater and drowns them. And here's why it ranks at number 5. It's a confirmed killer with a hunting strategy that's brutally effective. If you're near water in remote Australian regions and a bunyip is present, you're at serious risk, but it's limited to freshwater environments, which keeps it from ranking higher. The bunyip legend goes back thousands of years in Aboriginal Australian culture, with different tribes having their own versions and names for the creature. It's one of the most widespread cryptids in Australian folklore, with sightings reported from virtually every state. The Aboriginal people have always warned that certain waterholes are bunyip territory and should be avoided, especially at night. European settlers started reporting encounters in the early 1800s, describing this massive creature that would surface suddenly, grab livestock or people who got too close to the water's edge, and pull them under. Once you're in the water with a bunyip, you're not coming back up. What makes the bunyip particularly dangerous is its hunting method. This thing doesn't chase you on land or give you warning. It waits beneath the surface, completely hidden in murky water, and strikes when you're most vulnerable, when you're drinking from the water's edge, washing, fishing, or wading in shallow areas. Witnesses describe seeing massive ripples moving towards shore, then suddenly something grabs their leg or arm with incredible force and pulls them under. The bunyip's strength is enormous. Descriptions say it can drag a full-grown cow into deep water and hold it there until it drowns. If it can do that to a 1,000-pound animal, a human doesn't stand a chance. The bunyip's vocalizations are also terrifying.
People who've camped near bunyip territory report hearing these deep, booming roars that echo across the water at night, or high-pitched screams that sound almost human. Some describe a bellowing sound that makes the water vibrate and sends waves lapping against the shore. These calls serve as territorial warnings. The bunyip is telling you this waterhole belongs to it, and if you're smart, you'll leave. But not everyone heeds the warning, and that's when attacks happen. What makes the bunyip rank where it does is the combination of its ambush tactics, its aquatic advantage, and its documented kills. In water, humans are slow, clumsy, and weak. The bunyip is fast, powerful, and completely at home in that environment. You can't fight it, you can't outswim it, and once it has you, you're going under. There are multiple historical accounts of people disappearing near waterholes with only disturbed water and sometimes torn clothing washing up later. Aboriginal oral histories contain countless stories of bunyip attacks, and some researchers believe that at least some of these accounts are based on real encounters with unknown aquatic predators. The bunyip is also incredibly territorial. Once it's claimed a waterhole or section of river, it stays there and defends it aggressively against any intruders. This means that certain areas become death traps, places where livestock and people mysteriously vanish, where the locals refuse to go, where there's an unspoken understanding that the water is off limits. And unlike creatures that roam large territories, a bunyip stays in its domain, making it a consistent, predictable threat if you know where to avoid. But here's what keeps the bunyip at number 5 instead of higher. It's confined to water. On land, you're safe. It can't chase you, can't follow you, can't hunt you. Its threat radius extends only a few feet from the water's edge, the distance it can lunge to grab something. Stay away from remote waterholes in the Australian bush, especially at night, and you'll never encounter one. Don't wade into murky water in areas where the locals warn you not to go. Don't camp right at the water's edge. And if you hear those deep, booming roars coming from the water at night, pack up and leave immediately. There are also theories about what the bunyip actually is, if it's a real creature or not just folklore. Some researchers believe it might be a surviving population of large seals or sea lions that adapted to freshwater environments. Others think it could be a massive freshwater crocodile species that's gone undocumented. Still others believe it's something completely unknown, a relic species that's managed to survive in isolated waterholes across Australia. But without a body or clear evidence, it remains a mystery. What makes the bunyip terrifying is the suddenness of its attacks and the absolute helplessness of its victims. There's no warning, no chance to fight back, no possibility of rescue. One moment you're at the water's edge, the next you're being dragged into the depths by something immensely strong. And the water in many Australian billabongs and swamps is dark, murky, and filled with vegetation. Even if someone sees you go under, they can't see what took you or where you went. The bunyip sits at number 5 because it's a confirmed killer with perfect ambush tactics and total dominance in its aquatic environment. Avoid remote Australian waterways, respect the warnings of the Aboriginal people, and never assume that calm water is safe water, because something might be watching from below, and it's very, very hungry.
All right, next up, and we're heading to South Africa to talk about one of the most ancient and terrifying creatures in African folklore, the Grootslang. And this thing is absolutely massive. The name literally translates to great snake in Afrikaans, but that doesn't do it justice. The Grootslang is described as a primordial monster that combines the worst features of an elephant and a serpent. It's got an elephant's head, trunk, and front legs, but its body extends into a massive serpentine form that can stretch 40 to 60 feet long. And here's why the Grootslang ranks at number 4. It's got the size and strength to crush vehicles, the intelligence to use tactics and lure victims, and it hunts in deep cave systems where humans are completely at a disadvantage. This thing is a living nightmare that's been terrorizing the Richtersveld region for thousands of years. But it's limited to specific cave systems, which is the only reason it's not ranked even higher. The Grootslang legend is one of the oldest in African mythology. According to the stories, when the gods were creating the animals of the world, they made a mistake with the Grootslang. They gave it too much strength, too much cunning, too much power. Realizing their error, the gods split the creature into elephants and snakes, reducing its power by separating these traits. But one original Grootslang escaped into the deep caves before the gods could split it, and it's been living there ever since, growing larger and more dangerous over thousands of years.
The legend says the Grutzlong inhabits a massive cave system in the Richtersveld Mountains, particularly a location known as the Wonder Hole, or Bottomless Pit, where it guards a vast treasure of diamonds and gemstones. And that treasure is part of what makes the Grutzlong so dangerous. This thing isn't just a mindless animal, it's intelligent, possibly as smart as a human or smarter. The Grutzlong is said to be drawn to treasure, particularly diamonds, and it lures greedy explorers into its cave system with promises of wealth. Local legends tell of people finding diamonds near cave entrances, following the trail deeper and deeper into the darkness, only to realize too late that they're being led into a trap. And once you're deep in those caves, once you're in the Grutzlong domain, there's no escape. What makes the Grutzlong particularly terrifying is its physical capabilities combined with its environment. This creature has the crushing power of an elephant. It can gore you with tusks, grab you with its trunk, and stomp you with massive feet. But it also has the constricting ability of a giant serpent. Witnesses who claim to have encountered the Grutzlong and survived describe it wrapping its serpentine body around victims and squeezing with enough force to break bones and crush internal organs. And it does all this in pitch-black cave systems where you can't see, can't navigate, and can't call for help. The Grutzlong's cave system is a maze of tunnels, some of which are said to be hundreds of feet deep and filled with underground water. If you're being chased by the Grutzlong in those tunnels, you're running blind in total darkness while it knows every inch of that terrain. It can move silently through the water, it can navigate the narrow passages with ease, and it can cut off your escape routes by blocking tunnels with its massive body. You're not just fighting a monster, you're fighting the environment itself. There are stories of expeditions that went into the caves searching for the Grutzlong's treasure and never returned. Search parties sometimes find abandoned equipment, scattered belongings, and signs of struggle deep in the cave systems, but no bodies. The Grutzlong either drags victims deeper into the caves to consume them or disposes of them in underground water channels where they'll never be found. And the locals take these stories seriously. There are areas of the Richtersveld that are considered forbidden, caves that no one will enter no matter how much money you offer them. What makes the Grutzlong rank at number 4 is the combination of its size, strength, intelligence, and environmental advantage. A creature with the power of an elephant and the flexibility of a giant snake is already terrifying. But a creature that uses intelligence to lure victims, that knows how to use darkness and confined spaces to its advantage, that can crush you with constriction or gore you with tusks, that's a whole other level of danger. The only thing keeping it from ranking higher is its geographic limitation. The Grutzlong is confined to specific cave systems in South Africa. Stay away from those caves, don't go treasure hunting in the Richtersveld, and you'll never encounter it. But if you do venture into those caves, if you see diamonds scattered on the ground leading deeper into the darkness, if you hear something massive moving through the tunnels towards you, run. Don't try to grab the treasure, don't try to explore further, don't assume you can outsmart a creature that's been hunting in those caves for thousands of years. The Grutzlong sits at number 4 because it's an ancient apex predator with the tools to kill easily and the intelligence to use them effectively. It's a monster that combines brute strength with cunning, and it hunts in an environment where humans are blind, lost, and completely outmatched.
The Kraken. All right, next up, and we're diving into the ocean to talk about the ultimate sea monster, the creature that's haunted sailors' nightmares for centuries, the Kraken. And this thing isn't just big, it's titanic. The Kraken is described as a massive cephalopod, usually depicted as either a colossal squid or octopus, with a body the size of an island and tentacles that can stretch hundreds of feet. This creature is so large that sailors reportedly mistook its back for land, anchored their ships to it, and then watched in horror as what they thought was an island suddenly moved and dragged them into the depths. And here's why the Kraken ranks at number 3. It's a ship destroyer, a mass casualty event on a scale that few cryptids can match. When the Kraken attacks, hundreds of people can die in minutes. But it's confined to deep ocean waters, and its attacks are rare, which is why it's not ranked even higher. The Kraken legend comes primarily from Norse and Scandinavian folklore, where it's been terrorizing sailors for over 1,000 years. Old Norse texts describe it as the largest and most terrifying creature in the ocean, something so massive that when it surfaces, it creates waves that can capsize ships miles away. And when it dives back into the depths, it creates whirlpools powerful enough to suck entire fleets under. The Kraken doesn't even need to directly attack to kill, its mere presence can cause mass destruction. But when it does attack directly, it's catastrophic. The Kraken's tentacles are described as being as thick as ship masts and covered in massive suction cups lined with sharp hooks or teeth. Witnesses who survived Kraken encounters describe seeing these tentacles rise from the water, wrapping around ships and squeezing until the wood splinters and breaks. The Kraken can grab a full-size sailing vessel and crush it like a toy, dragging it beneath the waves in seconds. Crews have no time to react, no time to escape. One moment they're sailing calm seas, the next they're being pulled into the abyss by something incomprehensibly large. What makes the Kraken particularly terrifying is the scale of death it can cause. A single Kraken attack can sink multiple ships in one encounter. We're talking hundreds of people drowning simultaneously, entire fleets disappearing without a trace. And because these attacks happen in deep ocean waters far from land, there's no rescue, no escape. If the Kraken gets you, you're dead. Either you drown as your ship is dragged under, or the Kraken's tentacles crush you, or you're pulled directly into its massive beak. Yes, like all cephalopods, the Kraken has a beak, but this one is large enough to bite a human in half. The Kraken's hunting behavior also suggests intelligence. This isn't a mindless predator. Sailors report the Kraken stalking ships, following them for days before attacking. Some accounts describe the Kraken surfacing near ships and watching, as if assessing the threat or deciding whether the ship is worth attacking. And there are stories of the Kraken using tactics like creating false calms. The water goes completely still and glassy, luring ships into a specific area, and then the Kraken surfaces beneath them. There are also reports of the Kraken displaying aggression toward multiple ships at once. Some historical accounts describe entire naval fleets encountering a Kraken that attacked several vessels simultaneously, using different tentacles to grab different ships while creating whirlpools that dragged others under. If these accounts are accurate, we're talking about a creature with the ability to coordinate complex attacks and overwhelm multiple targets at once. That's not just size and strength, that's intelligence and strategy. What makes the Kraken rank at number 3 is the sheer scale of destruction. Most cryptids kill one person at a time, maybe a small group. The Kraken can kill hundreds in a single encounter. It's a mass casualty event, a maritime disaster on a scale that makes it one of the most dangerous creatures on this list. But here's why it's not ranked higher. The Kraken is confined to deep ocean waters, its attacks are extremely rare, and it seems to be limited to specific regions of the North Atlantic. Most people will never encounter the Kraken because they're never in the deep ocean where it hunts. But if you are at sea, if you're sailing through deep waters far from land, and the ocean suddenly goes calm and glassy, and you see something massive moving beneath the surface, pray it's not the Kraken, because if those tentacles start rising from the water, if they start wrapping around your ship, there's nothing you can do. You can't fight something that large. You can't escape something that fast. Your only hope is that the Kraken decides you're not worth the effort and lets you go. The Kraken also benefits from the ocean's vastness. The deep ocean is one of the least explored environments on Earth. We know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the deep sea. If a creature the size of the Kraken exists in the ocean trenches, it could hide there indefinitely, surfacing only occasionally to feed. And because the ocean is so vast and so deep, proving the Kraken doesn't exist is nearly impossible. What makes the Kraken terrifying is the helplessness of its victims. When you're on a ship in the middle of the ocean and something that massive attacks, there's no running, no hiding, no fighting back. You're at the complete mercy of a creature that has none. The Kraken sits at number 3 because it's a mass killer, a destroyer of ships, a creature of catastrophic power. It's not the most aggressive, it's not the most intelligent, but when it comes to raw destructive capacity and body count potential, few cryptids can match it. Stay off the deep ocean, respect the old sailor's warnings, and hope you never see the calm waters suddenly break apart as something unimaginably large rises from the depths.
The rake. All right, we've reached number 1, and this is where we talk about the most terrifying, dangerous, and genuinely nightmarish cryptid on this entire list. The rake. And here's why it sits at the top. The rake is everything humans are programmed to fear rolled into one horrifying package. It's a humanoid predator that invades your home, hunts at night, moves with supernatural speed and stealth, displays clear intelligence and intent, and shows absolutely zero mercy. Unlike every other creature on this list, you can't avoid the rake by staying away from certain geographic locations. It comes to you. It finds you, and when it decides you're its target, your chances of survival drop to nearly zero. The rake is the ultimate cryptid killer because it turns the entire world into a hunting ground, and nowhere, not even your own bedroom, is safe. So what is the rake? It's described as a pale, hairless humanoid creature, about 6 feet tall when standing upright, but it usually moves on all fours like a predatory animal. Its skin is a sickly white or gray, stretched tight over a gaunt skeletal frame. Its arms are long and thin, ending in hands with elongated fingers tipped with razor-sharp claws. Its face is the stuff of nightmares, vaguely human but wrong, with sunken, hollow eyes that reflect light like an animal's, a small nose, and a mouth that can open impossibly wide, revealing rows of sharp teeth. And it doesn't make normal sounds. Witnesses describe clicking noises, rasping breaths, or sometimes disturbingly accurate mimicry of human speech. What makes the rake number 1 is that it breaks every rule that keeps other cryptids contained. The yowie stays in the Australian bush. Megalodon stays in the ocean. The grootslang stays in caves. But the rake? It goes anywhere humans are. It's been reported in cities, suburbs, rural areas, forests, and most terrifyingly, inside homes. It doesn't respect boundaries, doesn't fear humans, doesn't avoid civilization. If anything, it seems drawn to human habitation, because that's where we're most vulnerable. The rake's hunting behavior is what elevates it to true nightmare status. This thing doesn't just attack randomly. It stalks victims for extended periods, sometimes weeks or months. People report seeing it watching from the edge of their property at night, crouched in the shadows. Then they see it closer, maybe outside a window. Then they wake up to find it crouching at the foot of their bed, just staring with those hollow eyes. It's psychological warfare. The rake wants you to know it's there, wants you to feel the terror of being hunted, wants you to understand that you're completely helpless. And when the rake finally attacks, it's brutal and efficient. This creature is supernaturally fast. Witnesses who survived encounters describe it moving in ways that shouldn't be possible, crossing rooms in a split second, climbing walls and ceilings like an insect. Its strength is incredible despite its thin frame. It can tear through flesh with its claws, break bones with its hands, and overpower even large, strong adults. Attack victims are found mutilated, torn apart in ways that suggest the rake takes its time. This isn't killing for food or defense, this is violence for its own sake. What makes the rake truly terrifying is its intelligence. This thing doesn't act on animal instinct. It makes decisions, it plans, it adapts. Some reports describe the rake testing doors and windows, finding unlocked entry points. Others describe it using tactics like mimicking voices to lure victims outside, or separating groups to pick them off one by one. And there are accounts of survivors who fought it off or escaped, only to have the rake return days or weeks later, as if it's patient enough to wait for another opportunity. The rake also displays something that can only be described as malice. Animals kill for food or territory. The rake seems to kill because it enjoys it. Survivors describe the creature making what sounds like laughing or satisfied noises during attacks. Some witnesses report it whispering to victims before killing them, saying things that suggest it understands fear and takes pleasure in causing it. This isn't a creature acting on instinct. This is something that's actively evil. What makes the rake number 1 is the complete absence of safety. Every other cryptid on this list has limitations: geographic boundaries, environmental requirements, vulnerabilities. The rake has none of these. It can show up anywhere, at any time. It can enter your home through unlocked doors or windows, or simply break in if it wants to. It hunts at night when you're asleep and vulnerable, and once it's decided you're its target, there's almost nothing you can do. You can't outrun it, it's faster than any human. You can't fight it, it's stronger, has claws and teeth. You can't hide from it, it will search until it finds you. The geographic ubiquity of the rake reports is what makes it so terrifying. This isn't a creature limited to one region or country. There are reports from across the United States, Canada, Europe, even Australia. It's not bound by climate, terrain, or habitat. It exists wherever humans exist, which means nowhere is safe. Your suburban home, your city apartment, your rural farmhouse, the rake can appear at any of them. The psychological impact of the rake is devastating. Other cryptids might kill you, but the rake makes you live in fear before it does. Knowing that something is watching you, that something is waiting for the right moment, that something is out there planning your death, that's a level of terror that goes beyond physical danger. People who claim to have encountered the rake and survived often describe paranoia, insomnia, and the constant feeling of being watched. Some become so terrified they refuse to sleep with the lights off or sleep alone. What makes the rake the ultimate cryptid killer is the totality of the threat. It's got speed, strength, intelligence, stealth, and malice. It hunts where you live, when you're most vulnerable, and it shows clear intent to kill. It's not defensive, it's not territorial, it's not acting on survival instinct. It's a predator that's chosen humans as prey and is exceptionally good at what it does. The rake sits at number 1 because it represents the complete breakdown of safety. It turns your bedroom into a death trap, your home into a hunting ground, and every shadow into a potential threat. There's no avoiding it, no predicting it, and very little chance of surviving an encounter if it's decided you're its next victim. Sleep tight.